All right, it is showtime. Welcome to another episode of The List, Season 2, Episode 2. I'm Brett, Jordan, second week back. How you feeling?
So Brett, to start off, do you want, and I'll wait till we have more people. So I'll just tease this now for the 0 people that are on before we retweet this. Do you want tonight to hear about my Rice dynasty, my Syracuse dynasty, or my UCF dynasty?
You got to start with UCF since that's your school.
Okay. That's not the one I thought you were going to go with, but it's fine. Well, we can start with that. I have some problems with EA, but again, I want to wait till we have more. And Zach is going to come in and definitely going to want to hear about my Syracuse one. So maybe just to kill time, I'm going to tell you about all 3. While we're, but Rice is a fun team to be because they have a 98 speed wide receiver. He's a freshman. He's also white. His last name's like Dickman or something like that. So he's a freshman, 98 speed. It's great. Their quarterback is Kurt Warner's son. One of their safeties is Sean Taylor's brother. So it's a fun team. I'm enjoying it so far.
Isn't their head coach also a former UCF assistant?
Their head coach was actually fired, so I took over in the dynasty.
Gotcha. But the real life coach is he that, or is that the Tulsa coach?
You're talking about GJ Kinney or whatever?
Yes.
GJ Kinney is still the head coach at Texas State, it looks like.
Okay.
Doesn't look like he got hired. The real Rice football coach, see, we'll look at this on the fly here, is Mike Bloomgren.
Oh, he was from Stanford, right?
Mike Bloomgren, we're going to find out. His title is the Dunleavy head football coach. How do you feel about that? That schools can sell the rights to their head coaching name. Michigan does that for their basketball job.
Michigan does that. So you don't know this story because Callum just asked how my nose is. So before you get into your dynasty, so this weekend went out with some friends. I'm telling stories. I talk with my hand, and I don't know exactly how it happened. It was a mixture of dancing, telling stories, and my hand, I guess it would be my right hand, actually came, and I don't know how I did it, but I punched myself in the nose, and it swelled up, and I had raccoon eyes earlier this week, and it was literally my fault.
How many beers deep were you?
Well, it was $3 you call it, and I had spent $28. So
28 is not divisible by 3. So was there some tax in there, or did you only tip $1?
I tipped. I think I tipped.
Was Brett a good tipper?
I am a good tipper. I just don't remember how much I tipped. I just remember my bill at the end of the night was $28 total.
Okay.
But you also realize I pregame before going out too, so it was definitely double digits.
So how is the nose?
As you can see, it looks better. Like I said, it was that big. I was tears out. I would touch the nose and I'd immediately start tearing up. So it was hurting. Mr. S is an irresponsibly generous tipper. Between that and his picks, he tends to lose money. So
what is irresponsibly generous?
That is a good question. Wait for him. My general rule, and I don't always follow it, is $1 a drink, but then I don't tip less than 5.
So are you talking about your sitting down at a bar ordering drinks?
Yes.
Or okay.
Well, if I'm getting dinner, it's no less than 5. No less than $5. But yeah, for drinks, it's usually $1 a drink.
I have a question for you and Mr. S and Callum, if he's still here, and whoever wants to comment. Do you tip when you are getting pickup?
So for Jersey Mike's, I don't, especially since this is
for Jersey Mike's only. He tips everywhere else, but only Jersey Mike's. He does not tip them.
They keep getting my order wrong, and all they have to do is leave off the peppers and the onions. And they get my order wrong all the time, so they do not get a tip. It's through the app too, so I can see what I order. But yeah, I don't tip at Jersey Mike's. Honestly, I don't really get much takeout aside from Jersey Mike's anyway. So
okay, fair, very fair. I think
Calvin doesn't order food online.
I think it's gone too far.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's good or not because I don't know how.
What's the conversion of that? Have I derailed us enough in the first 5 minutes?
It's not a bad thing. Euros to so €1 is $1.08.
Okay.
That's like 50. That's not bad.
Attaboy,
but yeah, anyway, football. That's what you guys don't want to hear about us and talking about drinking too much. We just had to tell the story about me hurting my nose because, I embarrass Mr. S every chance we get. So if you can't laugh at yourself, who can you laugh at, right?
So I was going to wait till Zach got on here, which I see he is at the bottom. But to bring it back to football, I won a national championship with Syracuse. The 12-team playoff format is such a success. It is so great. The Syracuse Orange national champions.
Yeah. Maybe I'll find it and share it soon. But I did see there's a chart out now that shows what everybody has to do to make the team to the playoffs, and it has it broke down to how many game buffer everybody has. And Georgia's at the top. It says that they could lose 3 games and still make the 12-team playoff.
That's crazy.
So, but anyway, Dolphins. That's what everybody wants to talk about. We're in camp. Jordan, last week I said I was tired of talking about Tua. I'm tired of hearing about the contract. I said everybody was freaking out, not to name names, Mr. S. But people were freaking out online. They were getting impatient. I said, I will not worry about Tua not having a contract until he's not a Dolphin. And what happens? Friday, he gets a new contract, 4-year deal worth $212.5 million, average of $53.1 million per year. Third highest paid quarterback in the league per average. I think total average or total guarantees for the year for the life of the contract, he's 8th. I'm happy. Do I now know about you? It's a very fair deal. We talked about it being a guarantee. It looks like Tua did give up that 5th year, which I think is fair because if he's what we all expect him to be, you're going to rework that the contract, in 2 more years?
Yeah, I mean, I think we hit the nail on the head on a couple things. I said that if we were talking about it in a couple weeks, then I would start to get worried. And we're not talking it. Well, we're talking about it now, but it's done with for a couple years. The other thing that when you look ahead to the Dolphins cap, the 2026-2027 season is going to be very interesting for the Dolphins because it's when I believe Waddle's deal really kicks in. It's the extra year that Tyreek is going to want on his contract. And it's going to be the year where Holland and Phillips start getting high. And I thought it was going to be interesting to see the way that they worked to his deal, especially in that season. And what you see that they did is they give him a lot of money up front, and they give him a lot of money in that 2026 season. But then in the 2027 season, it drops down. So I think what we'll see, and we can clip this and play it back in 2 seasons. I think going into the 2026-2027 season, the year before that potential out into his deal, I think we'll renegotiate and extend him to clear up some cap to alleviate some moves in that season. I think Tua got paid handsomely. He got paid what he deserved. It's a great contract to set up his future. And I also think it's a contract that is beneficial to the way the Dolphins can organize their future cap allocations. And I think it's a great deal for both sides.
Yeah, very team friendly as well. And that's the thing. I know a lot of people get impatient with Chris Grier, especially a lot of people since the draft, but we can get it. We've talked that to death, so we don't need to keep talking about the draft. But the one thing I've always thought about Chris Grier is he is not going to take a non-team friendly deal, but also if you show up, he is going to work in good faith to get you a contract done. And as we said last week, the thing wasn't like Christian Wilkins where it was you may remember the numbers better than me, Jordan. I think we offered him 110 mil total, and he wanted like 130 or something like that. Do you remember the exact numbers?
I thought, didn't he get 110?
Maybe. I remember he wanted Justin Simmons.
Yeah, he got 110. If I remember correctly, the deal that the Dolphins offered him were something around 484, and he got 110.
Yeah. So it was a case of us. It's not a case of us being so far off, and everybody was saying, which is funny when people were saying the Dolphins aren't even close. But then I think Cam Wolf came out and said the Dolphins understand the first number in the contract is going to be 5, so he can't be that far off.
I think we did well here, and I think that we are set up to now put that behind us and focus on what seemingly has been a couple really good days of camp, other than what we exactly thought was going to happen, that we can't snap the football.
Yeah, I was about to ask you that, Jordan. How hard is it to find someone that can snap the ball? I will give Brewer some leeway because he's new and Tua wasn't in on the 11-11s the first couple days, I believe. So I'll give them a little bit of leeway. But it seems like every center we have on the roster, or center, since no one's a true center we have, it just seems like everybody's having multiple snaps a day that are just doing poorly. And I think yesterday they even said that the offense kind of stagnated because of the snaps. Although if you want to look for silver lining, it does sound like Liam Eichenberg's not taking snaps at center in the second team. It sounds like it's Jack Driscoll.
I don't understand. And I think that this is probably, if you rank the things that we say over and over on this show in the course of what's now like 60 episodes, and now episode 2 of season 2, I know I'm trying to let it pass. I don't know how you have only one person on the roster that is qualified to snap a football when you're trying to win a Super Bowl. You're not just seeing if pieces fit. This is not that Brian Flores team that gave up a touchdown to Lamar on the first play of the game. Or the second play of the game. This is a team that you think has a chance to win the Super Bowl, and you have one person on the roster. What if we just had Tua and no other quarterback on the roster? Like, how do you have one person on the roster that can snap a football?
Yeah, I don't know. Now, like I said, you hope they get through it. It does sound. Well, I'm curious. Before I get into that, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this, Jordan, because it sounds like the offensive line, especially on one-on-ones, are holding their own. It doesn't sound like they're getting consistently beat, except for one player who we'll talk about a little later. But it sounds like the offensive line is just, if not winning, holding their own against everybody, including you hear that Liam Eichenberg is pancaking people, which I never thought I'd hear about that. But I'm curious what you're hearing, because it seems like that, but then you're also hearing about a lot of edge rushers, especially D tackles, winning their one-on-one battles too. So
it's so early. I think you'll know more when you start playing other teams. You can say, oh, maybe our defense is really good. You can say maybe our offense is really bad. I don't know. I think that once we get on the field against other teams, even in joint practices, I think then if you start seeing those same guys lose one-on-ones in joint practices, then we're going to have an issue. If every single day it's the same side of the football winning, but it seems like there's a little bit of a balance, a little bit of a give and take. So I'm okay with that right
now.
Okay. Kev, here's the back, the side, Pro Bowl. I got it. I'll try to find the website and send it to you. I got it at some point during the last season. It's a great hat. It's like a suede material too.
Yeah, I was noticing that is a very nice hat, and it's the 90s logo, right?
Yes, with the I got to figure out which way with the Pro Bowl symbol there on the side.
Yeah, yep, that is fire. But yeah, I know we're all tired of talking about Liam Eichenberg, but it does sound like he has a good camp. And shout out to people like Coach Fuller and Larry Wiles, friends of the show. They've been saying they think Eichenberg has the inside track, and they will point out that he actually graded out really well in admittedly limited snaps at right guard, but he did grade well. So is this the year Eichenberg actually becomes something? Or is that just, like you said, too early? Or are we going to be optimistic?
I'll believe it when I see it.
Okay.
I'm glad he's not playing center. But I'm hoping that somebody else steps up and maybe takes that position to start.
Okay.
But if he's much improved, I will be the first to pat him on the back, or maybe the second. Maybe somebody will beat me to it. But I will pat him on the back and be happy that he's helping our football team. There are obviously concerns.
Yep. Andres, thank you for the question. Besides Joel, what are your biggest concerns? Scheme depth. Like Jordan just said, until we actually see we have a consistently good offensive line, that's going to be the biggest concern. After that, Jordan, I'll give you two, and it's something I always talk about. I am still shocked we've gone through so many good tight end draft classes, and we haven't gotten a tight end. Yes, Jonnu Smith should help, but if you look anywhere, like at any coach that runs this scheme, it is tight end heavy. You rely on your tight ends a lot. We just don't have the tight end production that this scheme needs to take it to the next level. So that'll be a concern. The other one is going to be, and I'm throwing edge in here, but it's going to be D-line and edge until it's proven. I think in theory, we have better depth, and I think the edge and the D-line we have are better scheme fits for what Anthony Weaver wants to do. But you don't really know what we have until, especially with Christian Wilkins out, with Chubb and Phillips, we don't know when they're coming back. It's a lot. We're relying on a lot of unknown. So those two positions really, to me, well, three if you include offensive line, is more so I believe it when I see it.
For me, it's definitely that interior of the defensive line. I think we've definitely made some moves. We have like a nice mishmash of veterans. Obviously, you expect Calais Campbell to bring toughness, bring physicality, bring just solid play for you. And then guys like Neville Gallimore, Deshaun Hand, even Jonathan Harris, Benito Jones, Zach Sealer's obviously going to be a starter in there. You have a nice group of veterans, but which has worked in an Anthony Weaver defense, but there's no real reliable, the whole season, there's proven type guy that the Dolphins have seemingly had for a pretty long time. I think our defensive line has usually been one of the forefronts of our team, especially going into a season where Chubb and Phillips are coming into it with question marks. So the defensive line as a whole is definitely the biggest worry for me. Agba coming back, like Mr. S just said, with something to prove. If that turns into something during the season, that would be the story of the year. Getting to see Chop Robinson get some reps, like we said last week, is only going to be good for him early in the season. And it's seemingly getting those first team reps has already been huge for him in the first couple of days of camp. So it's really that edge I'm okay with. It's that interior of the defensive line that really worries me.
Yep. Yeah, the one thing I'll say about the defensive line too is Austin Clark is by far a top 5, if not the best defensive line coaches in the NFL. The fact that we held on to him as long as we have is saying something. I think you and I talked about when we fired Fangio. I thought Austin Clark should have been the odds-on favorite, and we were all talking about Anthony Campanelli as the in-house topic or candidate for D coordinator. I think Clark definitely deserves it. And Andres, again, with this, heard that Weaver's scheme has been giving the offense issues. Yeah, I've definitely heard. You definitely hear a bit of it. We saw. I think we can both agree that our secondary is by far the strength of defense, and we've seen Jordan Poyer make plays against Tua, just making great reads. I think Kendall Fuller is an upgrade to Xavier Howard.
You know what I like the most about this defense from looking at it? Even the names I just read there on the interior defensive line, bringing in a guy like Anthony Walker at linebacker. You brought in a couple other linebackers that specialize on special teams. Cam Brown is one, and Quentin Bell is the other. Both of them have looked good early. And it seems like you just have, and it's something I think I'm going to end up saying through the course of the season, it feels like we have a bunch of grown men on defense. Rather than being a defense that gets pushed around, I think we're finally going to be the team that is physical and fast. And I think that this is going to be a season where, and you have to be, every team that ends up winning a Super Bowl does this. Their defense ends up stepping up in December and in January and being what kind of is the unsung hero outside of the quarterback play. But having grown men in there is definitely a good thing to have early in camp.
Yeah. I think the biggest difference, too, for this defense is we're talking about the interior D-line. Their job now is going to be eat up the blockers. Let the pass rushers make plays. I don't think it's something – it's weird. I don't think under Fangio we did that. I think we just – I know we didn't play a wide nine, but it almost felt like we were playing a wide nine because everybody, especially our D tackles, were just better pass rushers. Now it feels like it's a more rounded defense. But to go back to what the Kev Har effect says, talking about Chubb and Phillips, we mentioned it, Chop Robinson. Man, so many people were upset with the pick. Not me, but that's beside the point. I'm not going to pat myself on the back too much for that, but I was on him before anybody. But he's looked really good, and he's the one guy you just hear consistently. He's winning. He is beating everybody. It also turns out Muhammad Kamara, another guy you and I were on before anybody because of his combine. No, I'm not, and I'm not going to. But those two guys coming in and looking so good. And apparently, I think Marcel Louis-Jacques said that Ogba looks like he did a couple years ago when he had, what was it, like 20 sacks in 2 years or something like that. He's looking good. But Mr. S is a big fan of the undrafted guy we have out of UCLA. I forget his name. It's Grayson something. Please, Mr. Murray. S, put it in the chat.
Isn't it Murray? No, Grayson Murray's the quarterback.
Yeah, and it's not Grayson Allen. That's
Murphy.
Murphy.
I was so close. I was so close.
Yeah. But
wasn't
Mr.
Grayson Murray a Georgia quarterback? What was his?
Maybe.
Was that a quarterback? There's a golfer named Grayson Murray.
Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, no, those three rookies all looking good in camp. Mr. S, I know he put on the Twitter that he thinks Grayson Murphy's a lock to make the team. I don't know if he's a lock yet, but if you're having three young guys just make plays every time, that speaks well for when we have Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips back. So you were close on the Grayson Murray. You're off by a little
bit. Aaron Murray, Grayson Allen.
Yeah. So so we covered the defense a little bit. The other thing I really wanted to talk about is it sounds like Jalen Waddle is rewarding the contract extension. He's been catching everything. It actually sounds like he is starting to consistently beat Jalen Ramsey. This might just be a case of him being healthy for the first time since like college because he's been battling injuries since then. But just hearing everything he's doing has to make you excited.
Again, this is one of those. I'm happy for Waddle, but I'm also hoping it's not Ramsey taking a step back. We know we're expecting Waddle to take that next step, and I think he will. And I think that in the next couple of years, he knows that this is his team. I mean, Tyreek is definitely past the peak of his career, and Waddle is close to entering the peak of his career. But I think once we see us, like I said before, and like Andre said before, in those first couple joint practices against other teams, if you start hearing in those practices, wow, Waddle's doing this to cornerback X, not Xavier Howard, but I think at that point we can be like, oh yeah, this is for real. The first couple days for me are kind of getting your feet wet. It's getting excited again. It's getting back into the swing of things. And I think to me, the first real day is that first day of joint practice against somebody else.
Yeah. So it is good. Waiting to hear who the third option step up going to be. Looks like we do have some special guest joining us. Welcome, Ghost.
What's up, boys?
What's going on,
man? How you doing, man?
You look like you are lounging.
I am absolutely not. I'll go sideways here for you. Yeah, I'm chilling right now. I had a long day, but love to come back and talk some football as always.
Yeah. What are your aside from the whole snapping issues, which you had a couple good memes you put out today about that? What have been your takeaways early from camp?
I think I owe Chop Robinson an apology, even though I wanted Jackson Powers Johnson because we needed a true center. And look what happened. People kind of ripped me for hating the pick of Chop Robinson. It's not that I hated Chop Robinson. It's because I knew that we were going to have these issues perpetually going into the offseason. And people were like, oh, let it play out. Let it play out. It's like, how many times are we going to let this play out? Of course, we needed Chop because Jalen Phillips, even though I guarantee that he's going to be there, whether week 1 or week 2, he's going to be playing. Bradley Chubb's still, in his working out his recovery. He may be back in October. So we needed the edge. I do agree. Even more so now that Shaq Barrett has now retired. But this was foreseen by anybody, and anybody that was ripping on any kind of like, hey, why did we draft Chop? Even though he's a great player and he's going to be a great player in the league, they can't, and I'm going to be the president of this, they can't complain about the offensive line. If you yelled at people for hating the Chop Robinson pick, you don't get to complain about the offensive line, and you get to love the missed snaps. You get to love Chop coming in unblocked. You get to love defensive dominating the trenches in every single practice so far. So you got to sit there and you can't complain about it because I'll find you. I will find you, and I will make sure that you are held accountable for your sins.
It looks like we have a new list being created here.
Yeah. I'll say this. If we would have passed on Fauatanu for Chop, I would have been pissed off.
And then we had a shot at Zach Frazier still.
Yeah. That's annoying that they both went to the Steelers. Like, my dad is a Steelers fan.
They build a team for the North. That's what they do. We build a team for warm weather. And I mean, you could win like that. The 49ers offensive line, I don't think that it's the greatest offensive line in the league. I don't even think that they're in the top 20. But they have the guys around them that they, fortunately have stayed healthy last season and season prior, and they were really able to carry a team. But, Miami, unfortunately, injuries have hindered this offensive line for years, and it just still has not gone addressed. And I don't know what else I could say. It's, I know Jackson Powers Johnson was a second-round pick. He had that senior bowl, boosted him up, and then kind of brought him back down. I mean, Graham Barton was there. He's not a true center, but Zach Frazier was there.
I think Graham Barton was listed as a center when the Bucs took him.
They drafted him, to be center.
Oh, okay. But then, even Zach Frazier was there. And that's like, you didn't need to take Patrick Paul there. You could have gotten up and gotten Zach Frazier. Great base. He's a 4-time state champion wrestler. One of the best bases that you can even work off of as a center. West Virginia, fantastic player. So there were options. And you can keep your Chop Robinson pick. But the Patrick Paul pick, like picking a guy that's going to be a developmental player which is fine. I get you're building for the future. Teron Armstead is retiring. He's got potential. He's got the length. He's got the size. But Zach Frazier could have started for this team, and there wouldn't be a single snap issue. Kick Brewer back to guard. Brewer's not a natural center. He played center. He played guard before he played center. Like, he's not a natural center. We haven't had a natural center in years, and I don't know why people can't understand that.
And Brewer had snapping issues at Tennessee last year. So
Did
this is
he
not.
play center at Tennessee last year?
He
I thought
played. He moved to center, and he had some snapping issues. So this is not like, oh, he was a great center in Tennessee, and now, all of a sudden he's having these issues and getting used to it. This has been a constant issue for him, and it's definitely worrisome. Ghost, you said we're building a warm weather team, but my question is, can a warm weather team win when important football needs to be won in January and February?
I think we can. I am glad to hear that Patrick Paul seems to be having a really good camp. But like you said, Ghost, he's not going to play guard. We had Mason Johnstone on a couple weeks ago, and he said in an ideal world, Patrick Paul's so good that you kick Austin Jackson to right guard and you put him at right tackle for the year. Mm-hmm. But it's like, yeah, it's great to see Paul doing well, but like even if Zach Frazier, if we took the BYU kid that's the Niners took, I think people would feel a lot better about those first two picks.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, I'm a Penn State fan. I know how good Chop Robinson is. He gives off that Micah Parsons attitude, that vibe. You don't want to say something like that compared to a possible future Hall of Famer. So I do love the Chop pick, but there were even options after Chop Robinson. So even if I wasn't justified in saying, hey, like, we didn't get a center in the first round, Zach Frazier was there, and he's like a plug and play. Both of those guys are going to be starting for the Steelers, and they're going to be good. They're going to be good in that offense. Yeah,
I saw you retweet Font News already beating TJ Watt consistently.
Yep. Yeah, so I get the Fatanu because he wasn't there. Like, he wasn't there. They took him before us. And McDaniel really even gave off the hint, and Greer did too, and I don't know if this is just like coach speak for believing in your player, was that like Chop was the pick, like, period. Like, even if Fatanu was there, he was the pick. That's kind of the way they made it seem. But who knows? We don't know an alternative reality. Maybe there's an alternative universe where we both have Zach Frazier and Troy Fatanu, and we have an offensive line for the future.
Yeah. Just go to just not even just those first two picks, but then they get Peyton Wilson. They get Roman Wilson. They get Mason McCormick. Like, my dad's a Steeler fan. I actually had to call him, and I was at the beach, and I cussed him out because I'm like, you guys keep picking everybody Dolphin fans want.
It's as if like the Steelers front office went on Dolphins Twitter, saw every single like mock draft, and then just did that.
Yeah, that was every mock draft. That's what we were going to do and wanted to poach our players.
Yeah, no, really, that every mock draft was building the trenches long term.
Yeah. Hey, hope and help. Knock on wood. Maybe some of these young guys we've gotten on the practice squad step in, because the one thing I will say about this offensive line system, and it's something everybody in the chat can watch out for. Traditionally, this zone blocking scheme is not always about the best player. It's just finding guys who can move and get in the way of people. So who's that kid now? We picked him up from the Patriots this past offseason. He's apparently been great on the second with the second unit. I forget his name. Mr. Esther Zach, help me out, or Larry. I see you guys in there. But yeah, you see some of these young guys starting to step up. So it's possible, but it's something I think we're all tired of saying, oh, wait till they develop.
Is that a good thing, though? Is that a good thing that we need to highlight guys on the second unit saying, like, oh, they're outperforming our first unit. These guys are going to be great. Like, no, that's not a good thing. Like, I love that. I love the player progression. I love that, of course. But if we're highlighting, hey, like, these guys on the second unit are doing great, they might be bumped up to the first unit. It's like, what does that say about our first unit? And again, we're one injury away from Liam snapping the ball again. That is the state of our offensive line. Yeah. That's where we're at.
Well, I don't know if you saw this, but it seems like the Liam Eichenberg at center has ended, but Jack Driscoll's now the backup center.
We just can't get a center. Like, they don't want a natural center. And I know that's not a premium position, and I know guard's not a premium position, but I think that has fallen off in the last few years. Look at Robert Hunt's contract. The reason why guards are now so expensive is because when you get an average guard, you have to pay them because the market is so thin. Market is
Yeah.
so thin.
People don't want to draft and develop guards. They want to sign guys who are already good, because we talked about it in the offseason, Ghost, with just for Robert Hunt. I was comfortable giving him 10 mil, but then I heard like 15 or 16. I'm like, yeah, no. And then I see he gets 20 mil a year, and it's like, can't do that.
It's hard to find a guard. So like you have to, and it's not even, I don't even call it overpaying anymore, because I think that's just the market for guard now. It's just so thin. There's high demand, and then there's very, very, very low quality.
Ghost, what do you think about trading for a guy? Mr. S just put it down there in the chat. A guy like James Daniels from the Steelers, who they're not re-upping. He played some guard, but he does have a background in playing center, and sending some picks and bringing in somebody else that can at least snap the ball.
You know, it is only the second week of training camp, of course. And, you know, these things, they do work themselves out, but you just look at last year. Twice, at least twice, points have come off the board because we couldn't snap the ball. Week 1 Chargers, right away, right off the bat, was that first drive, lost the ball on the 1 yard line. Chiefs game, ended the game on a bad snap.
Yeah.
You know, I think I finally admitted that wasn't Tua's fault. It was just a really bad snap, really awful snap. And I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of other circumstances where that happened throughout the year that I'm not. Those are just two that stick out to me. But I do think that Greer is going to do something. You know, I think that he's seeing, like, we might not be okay here. We might not feel great about this, even though I told you we feel a lot better about the offensive line than you do. Who knows? I mean, we cleared up space with Shaq Barrett. That was huge. Didn't get eaten up by Emmanuel Ogbah. I think his contract was what, like $5 million, something like that. I don't even think that was the cap hit.
No.
And then, so we do have, we're sitting on like 22 million right now. You know, that's not even before like a Tyreek restructure. So, you know, there is 22 million in cap space right now. I think it should be used.
Speaking of something that affected our cap space, do you like the Tua deal?
Oh yeah. Yeah. There's no issue. I would tell you if I had an issue with it, but that's a great deal for all involved. I mean, if you come to think about it, even AVV, which is complete BS, like I don't follow AVV, that really doesn't mean anything to me. He'll be 10th in the league once Dak gets his deal. So he'll be literally the 10th highest paid AVV in the league once Dak gets signed. Because Jordan Love dropped him down to 9, right? He was 8. Yeah. Jordan Love dropped him down to 9. Then once Dak gets his deal, I'm sure that Tua was going to go to 10. And then probably by this time next year, maybe he'll be in the top half.
Yeah.
Because
we look at AV just to talk about that. Jalen Waddle was third when we signed him, and he's out of the top 5 already, I think.
Exactly my point. And it's like, usually when you see these deals, like the Lawrence deal, like, of course that seems huge. The Herbert deal seems huge. But like a year from now, those guys are going to come down the list, because then it resets again, and then it resets again, and then we're getting an 18% cap increase. So Tua is probably not even going to be in the maybe top 15, maybe the top half by this time next year.
We'll see. Brett and I spoke about it earlier, and we said that we think that going into that 26-27 season, looking at the way the deal's structured, I mean, especially once he gets down to being the 14th, 15th highest paid guy, there's a very good chance that deal gets restructured, probably to alleviate some cap in the short term, and get him, after hopefully 2 more years of success, get him money going into his 30, 31, 32 year season. So it sets up nicely for Tua, gets him a lot of money, but also gets the Dolphins some flexibility to move some money around in a couple years.
I don't think anyone think Tua took less money to pay Waddle more. No, I don't think that. Like, Waddle's deal was completely separate from all this. Waddle's deal doesn't even kick in till 2 seasons from now.
Which is why it's interesting that that's where the Tua extension could happen, when that kicks in. So my thought process is, you go 2 years, Waddle's deal kicks in, then you extend Tua at that point, lowering his cap number in that season and giving him more money on the back end of that deal.
Yeah, Brandon Shores, he doesn't make the big bucks for nothing.
Yeah. Ghost, to go away from football for a second, I saw it yesterday, but what did you guys do to start catching strays from Joe Shad yesterday on Twitter? Like,
oh, dude, Joe's been doing that for like 2 years now, since Bobby kind of like took over the timeline with his stuff. They've been doing that for like 2 years. He's really the only one who does it now. Like, Like David, like he's cool with us. Like all these guys are cool with us. Wingfield, like all these guys that like love they give us credit. You know, they love what we're doing. They give us compliments, and like we're really happy that we kind of re-bridged that together because that was a little tense for a while. But for whatever reason, Joe just like he just sends shade constantly. That's not new. That's not new at all.
Yesterday was the first time I saw it because I saw the tweet and
Yeah.
I was like, that seems very mean spirited, and I had no idea where it came from.
Yeah, that's like it didn't shock anyone because like that's what he does. Like that's not the first, second, third, or fourth time that he said something like that. So it's I kind of just have fun with it then. Like it's
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well,
we'll see.
Love the drama on Dolphins Twitter. I took a break for 2 months. I said I got to get off social media, and coming back into it, it loops you right back into it. It's really quite the whirlwind, especially with camp starting. It's a place like no other.
Yeah, I'm up near Florham Park. I really do think that I'm gonna get one of those vests that you can attach like your phone to, so you can live stream. So it's like it's pointing out. And I think I'm gonna wear my Ghost jersey. I'm gonna go to Florham Park and walk into the Jets training camp and watch a training camp up there with my Ghost jersey on. Just see what happens, man, and just live stream it.
I love that.
Speaking of the Jets, just because this is something I also want to talk about, some of the division rivals. It sounds like the Jets are looking pretty bad so far in camp. I think I saw it is early, but Rodgers coming back from the Achilles, not having an actual surgery at 40 years old doesn't seem like the best idea. I've long been saying, and Jordan can back me up on this, I've said whether he is healthy or not, I think their offensive talent's overrated. So thoughts on that?
Well, Rodgers did get a surgery. It was just a little bit of a different surgery. It was more like arthroscopic, and then instead of they actually instead of like approximating the Achilles, I believe what he tore was more towards the heel, and they actually just drilled into the heel and just attached it with a screw, basically. Like that's the layman's terms of that surgery that he got. So that's not what you would normally do. But you know, at 40 years, I tore my Achilles. I know a ton about Achilles. I know everything that there is to know about an Achilles surgery. You know, worked in ortho, so I know the recovery times. I know the process, even just from a personal and professional standpoint. You're only going to come. The best you can come back from an Achilles is 99%. However much you want to attack that rehab, and how much you want to attack, you know, getting back on the field, that it could go from 99 to 75 real quick, to 75 to 65 real quick. Jalen Phillips, he's a prime example of showing how to attack that rehab. And I mean, he's still very young. He keeps himself in elite shape. Obviously, you've seen him do with his shirt off. He's a Greek god. You know, but you're still going to lose. You will never be 100% again. But you can be 99%, sure, and that's still pretty damn good. But just from the outside looking in, I don't know what Rodgers is doing in his free time, but it doesn't look like he like attacked his rehab. You know, he's going on retreats, going on podcasts. You know, you just compare that to a guy like Jalen Phillips, who's probably at Dolphins facilities 24/7. You know, it is.
Yeah,
We'll see. I have. You know, the things I noticed, like at this point, I am sticking to the bit when I, you know, break down Rodgers' Achilles, like in all these videos, because I have to stick to it at this point. But really, half of it, I'm like actually being honest. Like there are some lingering issues in the mobility and his ankle mobility, and his heel keeps contacting the ground. He can't stay on his toes. And you know what made Rodgers wasn't really like his scrambling ability, but his ability to extend plays. And even if it's a step slower, it's the NFL, a game of inches.
Yeah. And then don't know if you guys saw this tweet today from our old friend Ben Bolin, but he has said that Joe Milton actually looks a lot better than Drake May. And
that means
I am no Joe Milton fan.
I didn't love this. Honestly, I think the Patriots would have been better served taking BPA in this entire draft, and taking Joe Milton and just seeing what free agency offered for quarterbacks. You're not going to win a Super Bowl this year. They're not going to win the division. They're not going to win the playoff game. I didn't love this draft class. I didn't love this quarterback draft class, and I don't think Drake May would be the long-term answer there. But yeah, I haven't heard that. I really haven't followed New England news. I know Ben Volin ratioed him like a bunch of times. So that's the only thing I know about him.
Yeah. Zach, it's going to be Drake May until they prove he's a weakness.
You think he
I'm not
starts
gonna
week
say-
1? You don't think Jacoby Brissett starts week 1?
I think if it's close, they're going to start Drake May. I think Mayo knows he's got to start Drake May.
You got it.
Yeah.
You have to. It's your
And
guy.
I haven't
Like,
heard
they,
anything about
they don't have another quarterback on the roster.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah. I haven't heard enough of anything out of Buffalo camp. I know our Twitter admin spent the weekend drunk trolling Buffalo Twitter. But
Keon Coleman looks good. Josh Allen looks sharp. The receivers look good, so that's a good thing for Bills fans. And yeah, it's just they keep it pretty quiet up there.
yeah, I don't think they really care until they do anything in the playoffs anymore.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the only other thing I saw outside of Dolphins Twitter today is I saw Xavier Worthy went viral just because he was getting. I don't know if you guys saw the clip of him getting pressed at Chiefs camp where they're just throwing him. The defenders are just throwing him off the line. He can't take a bump at all right now in practice.
I was saying, man, I was like, this guy, like, I know that people were talking about his speed, and McDaniel was enamored by him at the draft, talking to him. Chris Greer had the meetings with him, but I was like, dude, that's not a need right now. And I know it's very, very like, yeah, it's like it's like a bee to honey with Mike McDaniel, and thank God we didn't do that. I said his weight was going to be an issue, and it's different than Devontae Smith. And I know that people said Devontae Smith's weight was going to be an issue, but he's more of a tactician than Xavier Worthy was. Xavier Worthy's like that straight line guy, and he really produced a ton off of his talent. That talent gap in college was so big for Xavier Worthy, but when you get to the NFL, everyone's good, everyone's talented, and I think that's just going to close. He's also a rookie; like he'll figure it out. The NFL comes at you fast, and
Yeah,
he didn't look like a straight line guy on that one video.
Definitely not a straight line guy.
no. Speaking of rookie wide receivers, I am actually, and I've said this before, I actually think that Malik Washington is going to be, we'll say fourth because of OBJ, but I think he's going to be our top slot option overall by October.
I haven't heard him. Like, it's funny you say that. I haven't heard much about Ezukanma at all this entire camp.
Well, we signed Willie Snead today.
Yep. I think that was because of the other Washington that is on the IR now.
Yeah, and it could also be that guys like Easy aren't and we need another veteran in there.
Yeah.
Another guy that you kind of talk shit on Tua on Twitter today, Ghost, with his tweets.
Dude, the dumbest things that like I don't want to bang on Twitter, and then the things that I actually this is a really good tweet gets 4 likes. It's just you just gotta send it out and just let it go.
Yeah. No, I definitely think Willie Snead's just a camp body though at this point.
For sure.
I don't think he's had more than 20 total receptions since 2020.
He coached high school football last year.
Yeah. I mean, good for him, dude. Get another shot in the league. Even if you're a camp body, it's got to feel good.
For sure.
Yeah. I think the only thing I heard of Ezukanma is I think they ran a reverse with him, and Grayson Murphy read it and tackled him at the line of scrimmage. So
having
it's
a great
not
camp.
Yep.
Grayson Murphy, great camp. Tanner Connor, great camp.
Yeah, everybody's mentioning Tanner Connor. I've seen.
Dude, it's so funny. When we had Jody and Jonnu Smith on, they're both like Tanner Connor. Connor. Tyreek Hill was even like Tanner Connor. So it's going to be exciting to see where he ends up. And he had the couple concussions and whatnot. That one concussion put him out basically the whole season. But we'll see, man. Yeah.
The other name that's coming up a lot is Ethan Bonner. Everybody's saying he's taking a step too. I'm not here. And then a name I was curious to hear you guys about. He's not really. The player's not really talking about him, but he's popping up on all the tweets, and I've seen him pop up on some of the highlights they're posting. Is Zeke Vandenberg?
He's popping up.
Yeah, he's making it, and it actually seems like he's actually with David Long kind of out right now. It seems like he's actually running with the first team from what I'm seeing with Jordan Brooks, who's also having a great camp, it sounds like.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, every video you see, like, Zeke's in there with the first team. He's in there with the first unit.
Yeah.
Making plays.
Ghost, you mentioned a couple players that came on your pod recently. What do you guys have coming up? Do you want to take this time to plug it, promote it, send people over there?
We'll do an announcement tomorrow. He's an NFL Network analyst, so
Nice.
I'll give you that. And then Sunday we have a player coming on, active 53 Dolphins player coming on.
Very nice.
So we'll
Active
get another
53. So do you have the link on who's making the team already? Is that...
yeah, I should say active 53 last year at least. We'll see. But yeah, he'll be on Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon, like 4:30ish. But yeah, we got another player from the team, and I thought it was going to end once training camp started, but they're finding some space, and word kind of got around the locker room, and we're pretty excited about it.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yep. As Mr. S says, the dive bar is killing it.
Thank
So
you.
shout out
Thank you.
to you guys. It's been cool. And as we get in the hour, it's one thing. Last question I wanted to bring up for you guys, just for a little fun, away from the Dolphins, but something that came up on the Discord, and we were talking your top 5 favorite wing flavors for chicken wings.
Ooh.
Oh, for sure. Number one for me, definitely got to be hot. So like when I say hot, like I don't eat anything mild. All right, especially when it comes to wings. Hot garlic parm, and the garlic has to be minced. The garlic has to be minced. It's not like a seasoning. Like you actually like. I want that garlic. I want that butter sauce. I want that hot sauce in there. So hot garlic parm, but it's got to be like that specifically. Then I'll take Thai chili. Love Thai chili. Then just regular hot, probably number 3 coming in. 2 more. I would do hot Caesar too. I know it gets a lot of hate, but I love hot Caesar as well. And then my last one, you know what I had, and I'm gonna put it at number 5 because I really don't order 5 different flavors of wings ever when I go out. It's like one of the top 3. But I swear to God, and you're gonna make fun of me, I had Snickers wings.
Ooh.
Snickers flavored wings. They had caramel, they had chocolate, they had like nougat, they had peanut butter, all that stuff like mixed in. Bro, those were awesome.
I've had really good peanut butter and jelly wings before.
I've had those, but the Snickers, you would think that like it's a little too much sauce on there, but I really enjoyed those. Only had about like 3 of them, but they were good.
Interesting. All right, I'll give you number 1 for me is a hot lemon pepper.
Okay.
Number 2, I'll go original, like regular hot. Number 3, damn, I wish I would have had more time to prep for this. I can go back through my orders of wings. Give me like a really good garlic parm.
Yep.
And flip it up. That was 3. Give me 4, like a hot honey. And 5, I'll be boring and say like a good medium sauce. Want to lighten up a little bit, go medium, and then dip in like a garlic parm.
Yep.
Garlic something.
Yeah.
That is the elite thing. When I get a non-hot flavor, I got to get a side of hot, and that makes it so much better.
Does Ghost go ranch or blue cheese?
Blue cheese. You're a psychopath if you do ranch.
I'm a psychopath then. But my top one is mango habanero.
Okay.
Mango habanero. Yeah, that is it's.
See, all right, this isn't fair because you've been thinking about this all day.
Yeah, I have. 2 garlic, hot garlic. Third one is a weird one you wouldn't think, but there's a local place here, and it's one. The other thing is you can just mix up whatever flavors you want, and garlic teriyaki actually mixes well together.
For sure. Yep.
Then I'd say the Thai chili, like you said, and then Nashville hot.
That's fine. Yep. Yeah, all good. I don't have any complaints about any of that. Like, you give me any of that, and I'm good to go. The one I had up on Bar Bill that was really good. You reminded me was hot honey garlic. It was fantastic.
Nice.
Yep, that does sound good. But yep, as we get an hour, thank you for the 597 people that joined us. Ghosts, thank you for joining. Everybody, make sure you tune into the Dive Bar. I also know a couple of them are listening. Also, I know Sideline T has a new episode coming out soon too, so make sure you support the girls as well.
Girls are killing it, man. They're doing a great job.
Yeah,
They are. And I think they have their episode with Mina Kimes, I think, is the most recent one, but I think they're getting what's the girl's name from NFL Network?
What's that? Oh, Kay
Yeah,
Kay Adams.
Yeah, Kay Adams.
Yeah, they're gonna get Kay Adams on too.
Bay Adams, baby.
Yep. So I think that's good to end it. Ready for a start of the next season.
Yep.
But like I said, keep supporting everybody, all the content creators, and we will have more good content for everybody. So hope everybody has a good night and a great rest of the week.
Bye, guys. Keep supporting
Yeah,
everybody. See you, man.